URC preview then. I am absolutely buzzing about this weekend's games, and so let's have a quick snapshot look at what is coming up this weekend. I'm Tim, this is Egg Chasers, and if you love the URC, if you appreciate the quality of this competition and the rising success of this competition, there's been data out about how the audience figures are steadily rising, and you know that's the way for the URC to shut up any talk about a Premiership merger, is to just keep on being really successful. So if you appreciate the quality in the URC, if you're looking forward to the games, help me spread the word and tell people how great it is by just dropping a little thumbs up on the video. Leave your comments down below and hit subscribe, and let's begin. There's only one place to begin. The biggest club match... Right, I'm about to make a statement. Am I over the top in saying this? The biggest club rugby match in the world. I mean, one measure of that is the fact that there will be a sold-out Croke Park. What's that? 83,000 people, some mind-blowing number of people watching a club rugby match. Not a cup final, because we've had club rugby matches with that many people at it in England, at Twickenham, for a Premiership final, and I'm sure it's been the case for other games around the world. This is the fourth game of the season, Leinster against Munster. I don't know if there's a bigger rivalry in rugby. I know in South Africa, the traditional North-South, Western Province and Northern Transvaal with the Bulls and the Stormers, that kind of lives on. That was the rivalry that kept rugby going, or one of them that kept rugby going when they were isolated from international sports. So that's got a bit of edge on it. And in England, and I'm going to do a video covering previewing the Premiership, it's Rivals Weekend. And there are some tasty matchups in the Premiership, but there is nothing quite like the blue and red of Leinster and Munster. And not just the fact that they've managed to produce this incredible occasion tomorrow evening at Croke Park. There's stories absolutely everywhere on the pitch. R.G. Snyman playing against his former club for his new club, against his countryman Jean Klein. In fact, I've got the teams here. Have a little look just to emphasise the quality on show. But look elsewhere. You've got Kieran Frawley starting 10. I think Leo Cullen might have finally seen sense 2 games in a row now that Frawley is in the 10 jersey, and he's going to be up against Jack Crowley. You've got James Lowe up against Calvin Nash. You've got Jamison Gibson Park up against Craig Casey. The matchups are absolutely everywhere. And obviously Leinster fans will have been hurt by the URC defeat in that quarter-final last year, and they picked a weakened team and it backfired spectacularly for Leinster, especially because they didn't go on and then win the Champions Cup as well. And so I think it's a show of intent that they're putting their strongest available team out there. A couple of guys are still unavailable, but it's a very, very strong team for Leinster. And I don't know, you'd think with a largely Leinster crowd behind them at Croke Park, you'd think they might have a bit too much heat for Munster, but right, never ever write this lot off, because I mean that's going to be a special occasion. I do think it will be a Leinster win for what it's worth, but that is going to be an amazing occasion, and well done to the URC, well done to both of the provinces for making something so special happen. Let's move on then, and all of the South African teams are away. They're all on the road in Europe. And, well, there are a couple of the sides that are going to lovely, glamorous, beautiful parts of Europe, like the Sharks, who are in Italy, in Treviso. They could just have a little drive up the road and go to Venice. Or the Stormers can have a lovely little stroll around the old lanes and around the castle in Edinburgh. And then the Bulls and the Lions are in Swansea and Newport. Let's move on. The Stormers, they are going to be playing in Edinburgh. A big game for them, I feel, with the Stormers. They lost at the Ospreys. They absolutely pumped Zebre. So I think that whether they come away from this European trip feeling it was a success or a failure, this is a results business. This game is absolutely massive, but waiting for them is an Edinburgh side who have started woefully, got absolutely panned away at the Lions. They're back in front of their home crowd, and they will feel like they owe them something and owe a performance. They've got loads of Scotland internationals, so there's no excuse. So I think what we're going to learn a bit about the Stormers' mentality, because I was there for that quarter-final playoff game in Glasgow when the Stormers lost, and they really just didn't show up. They just got kind of beaten up front, and Glasgow's defence was just absorbed everything the Stormers had. So we're going to learn about the Stormers' mentality. We are going to learn about what's really going on at Edinburgh. Is there some fundamental issue? Has the coach lost the dressing room? That kind of thing. We're going to learn that, because let's have a look how this game goes. And with the Stormers have Damien Willemse. He's looking to prove himself again with pressure for his Bok jersey. Ridiculous levels of depth, but he's in the 10 shirt. And there are other players on the Bok's radar. JD Schickling is a unit, and Dan Duplessis, captain, who watches this channel. Dan Duplessis watches this channel. When I went to the Stormers training ground to go and interview Dion Ferry and John Dobson, Dan Duplessis came up to me and shook my hand and said, I'm Dan. I know who you are. I was just amazed he knew who I was. So he watches the channel. So hi, Dan. Good luck in your game. Right, on to the Lions then, who are at the Dragons. Now, the Lions have proved that in Johannesburg, flat tracks, fast pitch, familiar surroundings, they can absolutely shred teams. They did well in the Currie Cup. Can they do it with a greasy ball, potentially cold conditions in South Wales? Can they bring that same attacking intent? Well, the team, the big guns are in. You've got Quan Horn, you've got Morne van den Berg, you've got Edville van der Merwe, you've got Frankie Horn, you've got JC Pretorius. You've got some absolute ballers. And I hope they can just go out and express themselves the way they have been. The Dragons have looked better than they have done in recent years, so they're going to be a stern test at home. And it's always hard to create that kind of atmosphere when you go to somewhere like Rodney Parade in Newport. It can sometimes be quite quiet. It can sometimes be quite hostile when a good crowd is in there. So either way, it's a very difficult place to go and play and pull out a good performance. Let's see what the Lions are made of. They look very, very good in the couple of games they've had so far. So far, I'm kind of seeing, I think the Lions will beat the Dragons. I think it's a toss-up, Edinburgh and the Stormers. I think that one can go either way. But I might just be edging for the Stormers, just. I know they don't have a lot of their box, but we'll see. As for the Sharks, yeah, this is going to be tricky as well. This is going to be tough because they are without their box. They've got a load of them waiting to come back, but the Sharks have got way more depth now than they have had. And so they've got no excuses. They've got really, really good players. And in guys like Ethan Hooker and Lorenzo Julius, they've got guys that are looking to push on and get into that box squad. So no excuses whatsoever. They managed to come away with a win when they were under pressure at the Dragons. That comeback in the second half, that will put a spring in their step. Benetton will be absolutely desperate though. If they lose again, and it starts to look uphill for them because they've got a big month ahead. After this, they've got the Dragons, the Bulls, first the Sharks. They could end up, the Dragons are away and the Bulls, they've got a home. They could end up, if they lose to the Sharks, they could end up being winless again with 5-6 games gone. And it starts to look like then the season is getting away from them. So this is absolutely massive. They're on home turf and they've got guys like Negri on the bench for Benetton. So I think they're going to bring it. I think this is going to be very close. I think Benetton could edge it, but the Sharks look a lot better. Last year, the Sharks would have lost this game. And in fact, the Benetton, they beat them in Durban. So, but this feels like a slightly different Sharks team. Again, we're going to learn a lot about the mentality in that squad. The Bulls at Ospreys to complete the South African teams. Not a fun place to go, much like Rodney Parade in Newport. But the Bulls have come to Europe with the big guns. First game on the road set the tone. They've got Ospreys, Scarlets, Benetton, Connacht in these round of games. So they can win all 4 of these games on the road. They can. And if they do, then what that does for them later on in the season is it just takes the pressure off. They're going to have to come back to Europe later in the season to play Munster and Glasgow, 2 really tough games. I reckon the Bulls would love to be in a situation where they're in the knockout stages of the Champions Cup and they can focus on the Champions Cup and not worry about sending their big guns to Munster and Glasgow as much as I would like to see them go toe-to-toe. That might be where they're thinking they want to be. They'll be able to rest up a bit later in the season if they can go hard at these European matches and get 4 wins. They are 4 winnable games. But waiting for them is Ospreys. And again, we're going to learn a lot about them. Toby Booth is a coach I really, really like. And he did a great job with Ospreys last year. There looks to be a little something lacking this year. And is it just purely the fact that Toby Booth has said he's leaving? What psychological impact has that had? Because they've got great players. Dewi Lake, Adam Beard, Jack Morgan, Justin Tipperick are all in the pack. You've got Williams and Watkins in the centre. They've got a tough, robust Ospreys team, and they should be able to bring it against the Bulls. I don't know if there's just a little bit top 2 inches. Maybe guys are wondering about their contract or a job at all next year, and that's just having a bit of a negative feeling. We don't know exactly why Toby Booth is stepping away, but I suspect it's probably because there's some not great stuff going on behind the scenes, as is the case with a lot of these Welsh regions. So I'm going to go for a Bulls win on the road there. But then we've got some derby games. Another derby game, we've got Leinster Munster, and another red and blue all Welsh affair is Cardiff against Scarlets. This is did these two play each other only a couple of weeks ago? I feel like they did. I might have that wrong, but am I remembering that correctly? I think they might have done. Anyway, if they did, this is the return fixture, and fine. The interesting thing is Cardiff look quite good. Scarlets, Dragons look better. Ospreys have dropped, but there is an opportunity because of the way that the URC works, where you play home and away against all of the teams that are in your division. So the Welsh teams play home and away against each other. There is an opportunity, if you can gather some form, to pick up 6 wins. And that carries you a long way towards the playoffs. Cardiff, I think, are probably the best place to do that. So if they can get another win against the Scarlets, then they could be in business to maybe even sneak a promotion spot, especially with teams like Edinburgh and Benetton not looking as good. So big game for Cardiff, that one. And Ulster Connacht, looking forward to this game. This is the Saturday night game. The 2 games last year were belters. Both 20 points to 19 to Connacht in the first game. And then I think Ulster won by 2 points in the second game. So really close. And I've looked at the teams. A load of the big names are back in. Ulster have got a much more experienced looking pack. Nick Timoney at number 8's got a big responsibility for him. And Connacht have got Mac Hansen and Bundy Aki and Finlay Beelum. I think they've got Cowlin Blade on the bench as well. So this is a lot of internationals. It's not the big showpiece event at Croke Park, but this is a big all-Ireland affair, inter-pro matchup. And there's a lot on the line for these 2 teams. That I think that these 2 will be roughly in the same part of the table come the end of the season. They may well look back at this match and say it went a long way. And for the record, Ravenhill, under the lights, one of my favourite places to watch rugby. The atmosphere is brilliant. I hope the crowd turn out in big number, and I'm going to go for a narrow home win in that one, but I think it will be close. And watch out for Paul Boyle. He had an absolute stormer at number 8 off the bench last week. He starts at number 8 now, and yeah, I like the look of him a lot. And I haven't mentioned the game that is tonight, which by the time you're watching this video, that game may have already happened. I'm a bit late to the party on this preview video. So just touch on Glasgow against Zebre. It starts the weekend. It's a bit of a curtain raiser. I think it's just a bit of an appetizer, to be honest. The main course is Saturday and Sunday. This is just I mean, hey, I could look stupid if it doesn't end up like this. But Glasgow at home against Zebre should put in a handy shift and win comfortably by, I'm going to say, 24 points. If Zebre prove me wrong, fair play. But that is the that is the URC, which looks like such a good weekend. There's some great matchups there. The South African teams on the road. Leinster v Munster is the big showpiece event, but Ulster, Connacht, Cardiff, Scarlets. It's great games everywhere, great competition. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Give the video a thumbs up, hit subscribe, enjoy the rugby, and make sure you check back in on the channel for reaction to the games.